and sometimes it's a challenge. Good afternoon. My name is Charles King, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Vice President for Institutional Advancement here at Philander Smith College. We want to thank everybody for coming, and our program today will proceed as printed. And that being the case, I'm going to ask that you would welcome the 14th President of Philander Smith College, Dr. Roderick L. Smothers, Sr.
I don't think I was supposed to do that. Technology. They'll come back and fix it. Good afternoon, everyone. All right. The music did put me in the mood, so I'll say season's greetings and welcome to Philander Smith College. You know, every day for the last 7 years, I've had the privilege to wake up and live out my dream of being an HBCU president. The honor to serve as the 14th president of Philander Smith College is truly a blessing, a fulfillment of a calling, if you will. Many of you have heard me refer to it as my ministry, my special ministry, one that changes lives through the power of education. The phenomenal woman that we celebrate today proves just how powerful a Philander Smith College education is. Dr. Joycelyn Elders. Yes. Dr. Elders is, without a doubt, one of our most celebrated alumni members whose personal and professional stories have served as an inspiration for hundreds of PSC scholars and others as she has walked through these sacred grounds under the leadership of one of my favorite presidents as well, Dr. Elders, and you referenced him earlier, M. Lafayette Harris, the longest serving president of Philander Smith College. You graduated in 1952, and he was president then. And when we were together earlier today, you said that you thought that I was operating in his spirit, and I received that because he is the president that I have attempted to model my administration after. And so thank you for acknowledging that. And thank you for appreciating the value that HBCU presidents bring to their students. Dr. Elders is a role model. She's a mentor to many, including many of you who are sitting in the room today. So if Dr. Elders serves in that capacity, just wave your hand so she can turn around and see you real quick. Mentor, if you're mentored, if she served as an inspiration to you, just wave your hands. That within itself is a gift, I know, Dr. Elders. So on this occasion of the documentary screening and premiere of From the Cotton Fields to the White House, Dr. Joycelyn Elders' story, we're delighted to welcome each of you to our college for this wonderful opportunity that is in support of Dr. Joycelyn Elders. There will be more acknowledgments later in the program, and you will hear from me again after I finish with this small segment of my remarks, but I wanted to first set the stage around the why. Why are we here today? Why are we gathering to place an emphasis on one of the most celebrated national treasurers, the namesake for this work here today? Dr. Elders is a healthcare professional par excellence. She said earlier in her remarks to us that she was trained very well, but somewhere in her training that the professors neglected to teach her how to be a good politician. I disagree, Dr. Elders. When I see you, everything about you is absolutely excellent. And I'm just honored that you are a graduate of Philander Smith College. As we think about the health issues facing America today and the circumstances that are more prevalent in the communities where people who look like me live, our communities of color, I can't tell you why this initiative is so very important, because Dr. Elders looks like me as well. She was trained at the place where I'm president right now. And through her education and through her advocacy for justice and belief in it, she has indeed changed the world for the better. That is our mission statement personified. Here, we'll be live streamed, and so we have guests in our audience virtually, and we have a wonderful audience here with us. And so let's get started. When I arrived to Philander Smith College in October of 2014, which was the date that I started, October 1st, we were getting ready to go through our accreditation process, and I had the honor of getting here a little early and meeting with the folks from the community. Dr. Donaldson facilitated my introduction to Dr. Elders, and it was an honor for me to meet her. She came to my inauguration. I was honored to have her at my inauguration. I wrote back to my mother. I said, "Mom, guess who's at my inauguration?" And she was there as well, Dr. Joycelyn Elders. And I asked her the question. I said, "Dr. Elders, what can I do to ensure Philander Smith College's sustainability into the future?" And she said in her boastful voice that she normally uses, "President Smothers, if you can find a way to get more black students into healthcare disciplines, you will ensure that Philander Smith College is relevant today and into the future." Dr. Elders, I hung on to those words. And in 2015, the Philander Smith College Board of Trustees invested in that thought as we dreamed big for Philander Smith College, and they approved the establishment of the Dr. Joycelyn Elders School of Allied and Public Health with the goal of training more black nurses, more black healthcare practitioners, and more black and or African American advocates for justice who were willing to go into minority communities and address the disparities that were literally tearing them apart. Who would have known then that in 2020 and 2021 that we would be facing a global health pandemic that would further uncover the veil and the cloak of the frailties in our healthcare community, one that is tremendously failing the black community. And here we are today, gathered in a space celebrating the legacy of a woman whose name, I believe, will serve as the impetus to change the landscape for minority healthcare in the state of Arkansas and beyond. Thank you, Dr. Elders. Through the lens of health justice, the Elders School is designed to engage students in meaningful academic research, clinical services that will address minority health issues, and be a key to help lessen the shortage of qualified health professionals. The Elders School will aspire to prepare students to respond to the ever-changing, ever-complex issues of our healthcare system. We aim to grow and impact all 75 of the counties in Arkansas with an emphasis in the Delta. We aim to improve the pipeline of physician's assistants and nurse practitioners and advocates for healthcare justice. That's why we're here today. There are many people to whom we owe a debt of gratitude, and I'm going to recognize them in a moment. But before I do so, I want to welcome to the podium my friend and my neighbor, Dr. Cam Patterson, the Chancellor of the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences, and he will come up and bring you words of welcome, and then I will come right back to you. Dr. Patterson.
Good afternoon. It's a great honor to be on this lovely campus in this beautiful building to join my friend Dr. Smothers and all of you here today to say a few words about a great Arkansan and healthcare leader, Dr. Joycelyn Elders. Dr. Elders is someone that we also hold dear at UAMS. She's an absolute treasure for our state and our country, and your impact on public health simply cannot be measured. We are very proud of the fact that Dr. Elders is also a graduate of the UAMS College of Medicine and served on our faculty as a pediatric endocrinologist before becoming the United States Attorney General. She currently is Emeritus Professor of Pediatrics and Distinguished Professor of Public Health. She was named as a Distinguished Alumnus by the College of Medicine, and in 2004, she was one of the inaugural inductees into the College of Medicine's Hall of Fame. In our College of Public Health at UAMS, we have an endowed chair named for Dr. Elders. It's the M. Joycelyn Elders, MD, Chair in Health Promotion and Disease Prevention, and is held by the Dean of our College of Public Health, Dr. Mark Williams. An endowed chair is one of the highest academic honors at a university, and the proceeds from these endowed chairs support our missions to serve all 3 million Arkansans, regardless of where you live, regardless of who you are, and regardless of what you look like. Dr. Elders and her husband, Oliver, serve on the UAMS Board of Advisors, and we're deeply appreciative of your ongoing commitment to our mission. Dr. Elders continues to advocate for access to health care as a fundamental right. Her work as a physician led to her advocacy for adolescent health and reducing rates of substance abuse and teenage pregnancy. She continues to use her knowledge, her prominence, and most importantly, her wonderful voice to speak up for the poor and disadvantaged. To Dr. Elders, I say a big thank you from Team UAMS and from me personally for the work that you and Oliver have done and the impact that you've had on our students, on our patients, our families, and all of those that we serve. You are an American hero, and we are all delighted to learn a little bit more about you today.
Thank you, Ms. Carmen. Thank you, Chancellor Patterson, for those remarks, and we are looking forward to our continued work with you and your team to address the health disparities in the minority community here in communities here in Little Rock and beyond. We have quite a few important people here today. In fact, I would go on record to say that you are all very important. And from this vantage point, I wish you could see it. You all look wonderful. I mentioned a few minutes ago that there were a host of individuals and several groups to whom we owe our thanks for being with us along the journey to establish the Elders School at Philander Smith College, and really for being our overall champions for our Philander Forward movement. So let me attempt to get through a list of important individuals as my team has given me, and then ask for your forgiveness in advance in the event that I overlook someone, because when you start calling out names, invariably, you sometimes will overlook folks. First and foremost, our honoree, Dr. Elders, and her husband, Coach Oliver Edwards. Elders, let's give them a round of applause. Coach Elders said to me earlier today, I said to him, he said, "How are you doing, Mr. President?" I said, "I'm doing fine." I said, "The Lord is blessing dear Philander Smith College." He shook my hand and he looked at me again and he said, "How are you doing, Mr. President?" He recognized the value of leadership at our institutions. And with Dr. Elders today is her brother, my friend and fellow warrior and the ministry, Dr. Chester Jones, Reverend Dr. Chester Jones. It's good to have you with us today as well. And his wife, Gwen, and the Watson family, who are also relatives of Dr. Elders. They are all with us today, and thank you all for being here to support Dr. Elders. Gwen is your wife. See, I'm mixing it all up. I knew that I'd get this stuff wrong, so please forgive me. I asked for forgiveness in advance. Where's the bishop? I need prayer already. I know the bishop's in here. Dr. Sonnee Weedn, who you all met earlier today, is the mastermind behind the documentary. She is the executive producer. You will get to meet her in a moment. She is here with her husband, Robert. Let's give them a round of applause as well. Dr. Patty Bailey, who was our host today for our VIP luncheon that was held a little earlier at the Clinton Center. Thank you, Dr. Bailey, for your support and contributions. Our friends from the Methodist Foundation for Arkansas, Wayne Clark, the CEO, and his team members are here. Let's give them a round of applause. We are so very honored to have with us today Mary and Jim Wallop, who are outstanding humanitarians, philanthropists, and supporters of PSC. And I think later they're going to be announcing, Dr. Elders, a special a level of support that they are giving in support of the Elders Initiative. Isn't this wonderful? They've supported you forever. Yes. I want to also recognize all of the current and past members of the Philander Smith College Board of Trustees. If all of the current and past members would please stand at this time and be recognized. Current and past members, let's give them a round of applause. We have quite a few in the room today. We have Little Rock City Director Virgil Miller, who's recently installed in his seat. Is Mr. Miller here today? There he is. He's always wearing these beautiful, colorful jackets. I always tell him to leave them for me when he's done with them, so it's good to see you, Director Miller. We are honored to also have with us the Honorable Mayor Lottie Shackelford, who is also an alum of Philander Smith College. Mayor Shackelford, where are you? Right here. Mayor Shackelford was with us at lunch today, and the incomparable Mary Louise Williams and Annie Abrams, both alums of Philander Smith College. We were joined today by a very distinguished group of legislators for this great state, Representative Fred Allen, Representative Fred Love, Representative Denise Ennett, Representative Monty Hodges. They were with us. Representative Vivian Flowers joined us as well, and we are now, in addition to that distinguished group, we are joined by the senior legislator of them all and champion for Philander Smith College, Senator Linda Chesterfield. Let's recognize all of our elected officials. We also have with us today a hardworking group of individuals that we have named the Dr. Joycelyn Elders School of Allied and Public Health Advisory Board. That group is led by Dr. Charles Donaldson, but I want to, in addition to saying thank you to Dr. Donaldson, I want to call out the names of those members who are here today. Dr. Zolly Stevenson, Dr. Chester Jones, Dr. Chriselle Nash, Dr. John McAllister, Dr. Debbie Pfizer, Dr. Shannon Clowney Johnson, Dr. Trustee Tiana Jenkins, Mrs. Catherine Johnson, Mr. Jamie Wiggins, Mr. Charles King, and Mrs. Latanya Hayes. Let's give our advisory board a round of applause. And I know that they would probably come over and call a meeting with me here if I did not do this, because my alums love Philander Smith College and they love their fellow alums, but will all of our alums in the audience please stand today? All of the alums of Philander Smith College. See all of this alumni love here today. Dr. Elders coming out to celebrate you. All right, I think I've done my part. As I said, everyone here has a very important role to play because you are important to Philander Smith College. You are important to helping us move our Philander forward vision in the right direction. And so I personally say thank you to you for your time, commitment to this initiative, and so many others who are using their time and talents and resources to power this initiative. As I was looking out in the audience, I see several members of my executive cabinet and my PSC team. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize them. So all of the PSC team members, please stand and be recognized. Quite a few of you here today. All right, so now it's my honor to bring to the podium the person who has so beautifully captured this story, this legacy, and has put it in a format that it can be shared with the world. And I think that once you hear from her, you will understand and have an appreciation for why we stopped everything that was going on in Little Rock today to say everyone must come to Philander Smith College to be a part of the unveiling of the documentary of the life and legacy of Dr. Joycelyn Elders, the executive director of the documentary, Dr. Sonnee Weedn. Dr. Weedn, would you please come and take the podium? Thank you so much, Dr. Weedn, for all of your work. You're welcome.
I'm a little nervous. I better get in front of the microphone. So my name is Sonnee Weedn. I'm a psychologist in California. I wasn't a filmmaker until now, and I didn't even know how you made a film. But I'm a storyteller, and so I'm going to tell you a story that comes from my family before I tell you how this happened. My grandmother's name was Delight Church, and I'm Sonnee Delight, and my mother was Delight. And I was talking to somebody named Charity today, and I said, oh, we have Puritan names, because those are old Puritan names, you know. And so my grandmother was widowed during the Depression. She was 29 years old, and she had a 2-year-old baby, my mother, Delight. And she got a lot of different jobs, you know. At that time, most of the business world was men, white men, and here's my grandmother getting jobs. And one of her jobs was as a telephone operator, which is a good job during the Depression. She had some security. And then she became a salesperson for Canada Life, selling life insurance, and she was a great saleswoman. And she decided the Chamber of Commerce of Minneapolis, Minnesota, was all men, all white men. And she thought there should be a women's Chamber of Commerce. So she established the first women's Chamber of Commerce in Minneapolis. Maybe it existed somewhere else. In 1945 through, I think, about 1947 or 48, Hubert Humphrey, our former vice president, was the mayor of Minneapolis. And so my grandmother served in that Chamber of Commerce with Hubert Humphrey. And at that time, now this is somewhere in 1945, 47-ish, they were debating whether the lunch counters in Minneapolis should be integrated. And my grandmother said, this is a story she has told proudly, you all. My grandmother said, I see no reason for that. I see no reason for that. Let's just leave it the way it is. And she said, you know what? Hubert turned to me and he said, Delight, that is ignorant. You need to educate yourself. And she said, you know, I did. I found out I was ignorant. I needed to educate myself. And so she did. So I wanted to tell that story today because all of us in this room and in the world, we all have opinions about things. And a lot of the time we have opinions about things we don't even really know about, you know? And we need to educate ourselves. So I think, today is a tribute to one of our great educators, Dr. Elders, who's educated probably hundreds of thousands of people about healthcare and reduced the ignorance that sometimes exists about the good, the bad, whatever, in public health and health in general. She's really a soldier for that. My grandmother also used to say, many hands make light work. And that's the truth. And many hands went together to make this film. So first of all, a woman named Vicki Stringer, who I never met. I'm standing on my tippy toes. I'm going to lower this. Vicki Stringer, who served 7 years in the federal penitentiary and came out to establish Triple Crown Publishing, which was the largest African-American female-owned publishing house in the US, called me up. I never met Vicki. I interviewed her over the phone, but we never met in person. She said, this was right before COVID, so it must be about 3 years ago. She said, Sonnee, you need to start doing interviews and filming people that you wrote about in your book, Many Blessings. Vicki was one of them. And I said, Vicki, I don't know how to do that. I'm a psychologist. I'm a working psychologist. I don't know how to make a film. She said, well, you just do it. And so, it's a bit of a long story, and I won't go into all of it, but I had occasion to meet the old football star from the 80s, Thomas Henderson. Who remembers Hollywood Henderson? Yeah, so I bet you Thomas is listening today. And I brought show and tell. I have his football jersey. There it is. So I was introduced to Thomas, and I was talking to him about something altogether different. And I said, oh, by the way, Thomas, I'm trying to make a film about the life and the life story of Dr. Joycelyn Elders. And he said, oh, I'll get you the filmmaker. He made my film, Mike Martin, Surface to Air Studios, Austin, Texas. Now, I'm sorry Mike couldn't be here today. I hope he's listening. He's in Costa Rica on vacation. And so he said, I'll make the deal, Sonnee, and you'll be able to afford it. I'll tell him he's going to do it for $5,000. I had been quoted between $50,000 and $75,000 to make this sizzle reel. Now, I didn't even know what a sizzle reel was, but it's like, the trailer that goes before the big movie, which will come, I'm convinced. So Thomas made the deal, and my darling husband of 52 years here, Robert, said, honey, you can't make that, because you got to pay for Mike Martin to get to Little Rock. You got to pay for hotels and meals and a car. You need $10,000. I'm thinking, okay, I need $10,000. A football coach from Petaluma, California, Trent Herzog, called me up and said, Sonnee, you got to meet Robert Rooks. I said, who's Robert Rooks, and why do I have to meet him? He said, I don't know. I really don't know. But his kids play on my football team, and you have to meet him. I said, okay. So it was during COVID, and we met outside of Starbucks with our masks on, and we talked and talked and talked and talked and talked. Robert, at that time, had come from Connecticut. He was with the NAACP in Connecticut. He'd come to California to head up California Safe and Just, which is about prison reform, reallocating funds that currently go to incarceration for addiction treatment, which I do a lot of, mental health, job training, job creation, human ecology. This is human ecology. We're saving people instead of just throwing them away and warehousing them. So I said, I have it in my mind, Robert, I want to make a film about Dr. Joycelyn Elders, her life story, the story of her work. And he said, oh, if you can get me a phone call with Dr. Elders, I'll get you $10,000. I said, do you want the phone call today or tomorrow? He said, I'll take it tomorrow. So he and Dr. Elders apparently had some love fest on the phone. And he said, take our statement of principles to her, ask her if she will sign our statement of principles. Dr. Elders said, Sonnee, I've been yelling about this for decades. This is something needs doing. She signed, $10,000 dropped into my bank account. All right? So I had the money. It's COVID. It's doggone COVID. We had to wait. I met Mike Martin for the first time at the Marriott Hotel in Little Rock. We'd never met. We'd talked on the phone. And Philander Smith College, Carmen Parks, Dr. Smothers gave us permission to come on campus, even though the campus was closed. And we filmed in that beautiful, gorgeous library. And Rick Smith, who's here today, Tom Butler, Chriselle Nash, Michelle Smith, Barbara Kilgore, quite a number of people came to be interviewed. Others who are not in the film eventually will be, because this is just a snippet, all right? So we made the film, and again, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm good at interviewing people, because when you're a psychologist, you interview people all day long. You know, you're asking a lot of questions about this or that, and sometimes very personal questions. And Mike said, now you can edit it, Sonnee. And I said, what do you mean you can edit it? I don't know how you do it. He goes, well, just watch the time thing go by and just pick out pieces that you think are good. Well, you know, I watched the wrong time thing. He didn't tell me which one, and there's two. So I sat on the couch for weeks looking at this film, picking out these things, and I didn't do it right, but I learned. And so what you're going to see today is really, it's really Mike's work. Mike Martin, Surface to Air Studios, as a result of Thomas Henderson and Robert Rooks and others. Mike and I had finished our interviews in Little Rock, and on the way home, I got a message from Colonel Jennifer Pritzker. And she said, I would love to be in your video. I had invited her, but hadn't heard from her. And I figured, well, if I haven't heard from her, it's not happening. It's okay. I don't know who she is. It's okay by me. Colonel Pritzker would like to be in the video, and she's graciously offered to pay your way and your crew. Now remember, the crew is me and Mike. That's the crew. Graciously agreed to pay your way to Chicago to interview her in her home. So I called Mike and I said, well, Mike, want to go to Chicago with me? He said, sure. I said, well, you know, when I left Little Rock, I had $600 left from that $10,000. And that means if we're going to Chicago, we could buzz on up to Minneapolis and interview Eli Coleman at the University of Minnesota. Again, one of Dr. Elder's alma maters. So we did that. We got to Jennifer Pritzker's house, and the same day we flew up to Minneapolis, and by 5 o'clock that afternoon, I was home. And so I wanted to give recognition to all the people, and so many more that are unnamed, who have birthed this project. You're going to see greetings from 3 of the people that I've mentioned, and I just want to mention them again. Greetings are going to come from Colonel Pritzker, a really dear friend of Dr. Elder's. They collaborate on so many things. And Jennifer Pritzker is a huge supporter of Dr. Elder's. And I loved meeting her. She's a military person, and my dad was career Marine Corps and Air America, and we had lots of talks about things. She said, do you know what your father did in China during the war? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm willing to listen. And you're also going to hear from Dr. Eli Coleman, who Dr. Elder's has worked with at the University of Minnesota on many projects related to sexual health. You're also going to hear from Robert Rooks, who has now joined Reform Alliance in New York, which is doing the same kind of advocacy for prison reform and the humane treatment of prisoners and the rehabilitation, the true rehabilitation of prisoners, which oftentimes doesn't really happen, even though we say we're going to. So you'll hear from all of them, and I hope you enjoy their greetings. And I'm grateful to all of you for coming today. And I'm telling you, this is just the beginning. Somebody told me you have to have 78 minutes to be a PBS special. You all, we're getting 78 minutes and then some. So thank you. Oh, don't clap yet. I have something even better. Just a second. I almost forgot. Okay, so this came today. Actually, I guess, yeah, today, December 16th, 2021, to the Honorable Joycelyn Elders, MD, 820 Marcia Cove, Little Rock, Arkansas, 72206. Dear Joycelyn, Hillary and I are sorry we can't be with you for the premiere of the film about your remarkable life and career. But we are so glad that it will allow more people to know your story. We remain grateful and inspired by your leadership and commitment to making quality healthcare affordable and accessible for all. You should feel a deep sense of pride that your tireless efforts have made a positive difference in the lives of so many people in Arkansas and across the United States, and that your work has provided an example for the whole world to follow. Congratulations on this well-deserved tribute, and best wishes for a wonderful event. Sincerely, Bill. And it's written on William Jefferson Clinton's personal stationery. So enjoy the tributes.
Let's give Dr. Weedn another round of applause. Earlier today, Dr. Jones, the brother of Dr. Elders, told the story of how Dr. Elders got to Philander Smith College, and Dr. Elders got up behind him and said he told too much. But as a part of that story, you will learn that Dr. Elders came to Philander Smith College on a scholarship from the United Methodist Women, as she tells the story. Today, we are honored to have with us the Bishop of the Arkansas Conference, Bishop Gary Muller. And although I don't think you were the bishop then, Bishop Muller.
It just feels like it.
We're just excited to have you in the audience with us and here with us at this special moment for Dr. Elders. So thank you, Bishop. Let's give the Bishop a round of applause. And you should know that the United Methodist Church and the United Methodist Foundation writ large, as well as the United Methodist Foundation for Arkansas, continues to provide scholarships for young women to come to Philander Smith College. And so the legacy continues, Dr. Elders. I also, as I recognized our alums earlier, we have several alums in the audience, as you can see, but we also have with us today the president of our National Alumni Association, Dr. Roderick John. And so thank you for being here today. We are excited that the Greater Little Rock chapter has started off with the initial gift to support the Elders Initiative, and we are calling on our alums to help us to get across the finish line. You saw evidence of the work we're doing as you came in today and saw the name of Dr. Elders on this building. We're calling on our alums and all of our other supporters to help us to get across the finish line. Now, I didn't mean to do your job, Mr. King, this early in the program, but I felt compelled to say that. All right. Ms. Bradford,
Yes,
take
sir.
it over.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I regret that I cannot be with you all today, but I wanted to share my congratulations for this video about an exceptional woman, Dr. Joycelyn Elders, who grew up in a family of sharecroppers in the Jim Crow South and worked her way all the way up to the White House, where she served our nation as its first African-American Surgeon General. She earned her undergraduate degree here at Philander Smith College. At the ripe age of 18, she cleaned toilets in the dorm to pay for her way through college. She served 3 years as an officer in the United States Army. And then she graduated from medical school, started a practice as a pediatrician, and became the first African-American woman to be appointed director of the Arkansas Department of Health. I have enormous respect for Dr. Elders and a tremendous appreciation for her life story. Not only were we both residents of Arkansas and both commissioned as Army officers, but we share the same birthday, August 13th. Probably even more important, we both share a strong interest in sexual health and public health generally. In her numerous public and private roles, Dr. Elders has boldly and persistently focused on critically important public health measures. They're not always popular, and I have long admired Dr. Elders' commitment to fighting for these principles, regardless of who or what may stand in her way. I'm very grateful to be involved in sharing her story with the world. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eli Coleman, and I am the director of the Institute for Sexual and Gender Health at the University of Minnesota Medical School. I am so sorry that I'm not able to be with you today, but I wanted to send my greetings and my congratulations first to Dr. Joycelyn Elders for all that she has done. but a special congratulations to Philander Smith College for its wisdom in naming their School of Allied and Public Health in her name. Dr. Elders is a proud alum of Philander Smith College, as she is a proud alum of the University of Minnesota Medical School, where she did her internship here in our Department of Pediatrics. She went on to receive an honorary doctorate at the University of Minnesota and continued to work with us to establish in 2007 the first endowed chair in sexual health. And then she went on to help us establish a second endowed chair in sexual health education, named in her honor, the Joycelyn Elders Chair in Sexual Health Education. But that was not enough. She went on to help us establish a third endowed chair in clinical sexual health and a fourth endowed chair in sexuality and aging. So no school or organization can do enough to recognize Dr. Elder's contributions and ability to carry on her legacy and all the things that she represents. So congratulations to Philander Smith College for doing this and for everybody that's helping make this happen. Again, I'm sorry to not be with you today, but I hope you have a great time, and sexual health to all.
My name is Robert Rooks, and I'm the CEO of Reform Alliance. As the father of 3 Black boys and as someone who has spent more than 2 decades doing criminal justice reform work, I am deeply inspired by Dr. Joycelyn Elders. Growing up in Dallas in the 80s and 90s, I saw my neighborhood change before my eyes. Violence and incarceration became a part of everyday life. Our Black lives were ignored. But Dr. Elders saw us. She recognized us. She was us. In many ways, Dr. Elders predicted the America we live in today, one with a justice system that disproportionately punishes Black men and women, one where life expectancy has declined for Black Americans, a wealth gap continues to stifle people of color, and communities of color have borne the brunt of a raging pandemic. Dr. Elders has never been afraid to speak her mind, but she feared what our nation would become if we didn't act more compassionately. She knows better than anyone that the path to justice is rarely a straight line. It is often winding, almost always unpaved, sometimes unfinished. But if justice is the goal, there is no path she wouldn't walk, there's no boundary she wouldn't push, no odds she wouldn't defy. That's why when I was approached to help support this document, I could not say yes fast enough. It is an honor to be a partner with Dr. Weedn to bring this documentary to life. Thank you, Dr. Elders, for your generosity, for your spirit, for your wisdom. Thank you for keeping up the fight.
Now we will have comments from Dr. Elders.
You know, after hearing all those wonderful kinds of comments from so many different people, I don't know what I'm going to say, except all the things I was doing was the things I wanted to do. You know, I wasn't out there doing things that somebody told me to do, or I needed to do this. I was doing what I wanted to do. From when I left the cotton fields, I had no idea what I was going to encounter. When I came to Philander Smith College, I had no idea what that was going to be like. all I knew I wanted to do. And all of the young people that was with me, you know, they all had the same kind of compassion. And when Dr. Smothers mentioned my remarks in regard to Dr. M.L. Harris, that was what he planted in all of us. I mean, it was the idea that you were here, you know, at the grace and mercy of Philander, the people, and all the people that was out there helping to support you, for you to be here. They expected you to give something back. I mean, it was just, you know, they knew, not necessarily money, but to give other things back that would make a difference in people's lives. And so, all my life, that was what I felt I was supposed to do. It's supposed to do something to make a difference. And I saw all of the many bright young women, so you can't appreciate some of the things that I really saw later on when I was health director. You know, I thought I was doing great things when I was a doctor and in medical school. And you know, I thought I thought I was doing good things. But when I became the director of health, I realized that I wasn't even scratching the surface. You know, I was taking care of one person at a time, but we really needed to impact a far larger group than we were able to impact. And I think that was what Dr. Harris was imparting in us all the time. And he found a way to keep us in school when there was no way. And it was because of people like those sitting in this room, I'm sure, that we were able to, that he kept us there, and I'm sure he didn't know how he was going to pay the bills, how he was going to feed us, all of those things. But somehow, we stuck it out. And as Dr. Smothers told you when I told him I wanted him to make a difference. And so I think that's what he's been about and what he's making Philander Smith College into. And I think that that's the kind of young people, the kind of compassion that we want to show and be transmitted throughout the world to all of the people that are out there. And so I'm grateful and I'm thankful for all of you that are here today, and I want us to keep pushing and thinking and working to make this college what we want it to be. I've been working with the international group recently to try and say, what we were talking about was how could we make the whole world, you know, be a more compassionate kind of world? And how could we, you know, I think COVID taught us, this country, a very big lesson. I think it exposed many of the things that we've been thinking about, wanting to do, or knowing needed to be done, but we just didn't do them. And so now that COVID is taking our blinders off, giving us 2020 vision, I hope we use it to make a difference for all the people in all the world. I know Philander can't do for the whole world, but you know, we can plant little seeds out there. All you have to do is have a few seeds scattered around to really begin to make a difference, because I feel that in my own way, I've made a difference. And if everybody would do what they can do to make a difference, that will be what we need to be about. And so I want to thank Sonnee. I really, you know, when you started on this, I thought, well, I won't say what I thought. I probably told you, but we never thought it was growing into something like this. Well, you know, and then when I think of people like Jennifer Pritzker, who is, whether the rest of you know it or not, she's the 9th richest woman in the world. So, but she's always been a very hard-working, compassionate kind of woman. And I served on a different board with her. And the first time I met her was in Arizona, and she was sitting over in the corner. And I didn't know her, and she didn't know me, and and we just had no idea who we were. But I went over and started talking with her, and we both realized that we were both there for the same reason, and working on the same board. And so, we've just talked and chatted since then. And I want you to know, she's been very, very supportive of what I've been about and the things I've wanted to do. And I'm very grateful for the chair that she helped to establish at the University of Arkansas Med Center. I was very grateful for the chair she helped establish at the University of Minnesota. And so we're still working on this one here. Yeah, well, I think the thing, and I have no doubt. I don't know what she's going to do. These are the kinds of things she feels very strongly about, and so I think she will help, but I don't know when or how. But she's never disappointed me. She's just like, there are a lot of young women, I think, whose arms I've twisted and who made a difference in their lives. And I walk around sticking my chest out. I think I'm more proud of them than the parents are. Because so many of them have done such great, good things, like Vice President of Arkansas Blue Cross Blue Shield, making a real difference for underprivileged people, who's over minority health for the state of Arkansas, making a real difference. I could just go down my list of, I call them all my children, and I do call them my children, and they've just done a good job, and I expect to produce some more. So this School of Allied Health Professions, we're expecting to have another group. And the one thing I want us to add to that I've been working on, is community health workers. These aren't doctors, they aren't nurses. I said we don't need a lot more neurosurgeons, but we need more young people who can go out into the community, work with the community, and talk about and work on how to improve the health of the community. And so that's a big thing. And that's one of the things, President Smothers, if I twist Jennifer's arm, that's the arm I'm going to twist. So, and I want to thank everybody for coming. You've just coming out in the rain and talking about this. We're having this wonderful, wonderful luncheon and excellent reception last evening in this gorgeous home of the Smiths. It was just, I've just been so celebrated until I'm gonna have to take a week off to go home, to go home and sleep. And so, poor Coach Elders, he just gets worked to death all the time, and I want him to know he says I'm never proud of him, but I'm proud of him all the time. But I don't feel I have to tell. That's a part of being married to me. But I want to certainly thank each of you for coming out here tonight and this evening, all day. You've given up your day, and I know you didn't have a day to give up to talk about me, but I thank you anyway. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Dr. Elders has such a well-established record as a medical professor, pediatrician, and a researcher, a teacher, that one cannot help but be moved by her biography and her background. Dr. Elders is the embodiment and the living example that the American dream is still a reality. That with will and determination, support of loving family and friends, that she can achieve and become a tremendous verification of the American dream.
I was born in a very small town, not a small town, a small stop in the road, at Shaw, Arkansas. Population, 99. I'm the oldest of 8. Everybody had a large family back then, but it was a farm community. And we worked from sunup to sundown. Growing up, we would get up early in the morning. We had to get up and feed the hogs, or feed all the animals, get ready for school, milk the cows. So we had to catch the bus 13 miles to school, and we lived several miles from the school bus. So we had to walk down the railroad tracks 2 or 3 miles to catch the school bus. So we didn't have cars. Our only transportation was wagons or horseback. We didn't have electric lights. We didn't have running water. And so obviously if you didn't have running water, you certainly didn't have plumbing. We didn't go hungry. We may not have had what we wanted to eat, but we had something to eat. And my mother had always said, if you want to get out of the cotton patch, you've got to get something in your head. My family picked cotton to earn $3.43 for bus fare for me to take the bus, the Trailway bus, from Mineral Springs up to Little Rock to go to Philander Smith College. They gave me a job. I worked as a maid cleaning the dormitories and toilets and all. My favorite thing in my course of study in college was biology and chemistry. So I graduated in 3 years, was very proud of it. I was 18 years old when I graduated from college. I was down going by the Army recruiting office. I stopped in. I really definitely wanted to go back to school. I definitely wanted to go to medical school.
I'm trying to imagine a 19-year-old black woman who's got a gold bar on her shoulder, on her collar, and she encounters some crusty old master sergeant who's been in the Army about as long as she's been alive, and has combat decorations, and he's supposed to salute her. And if he's from someplace you know, like south of the Ohio River, that could have been a little traumatic.
I was using the Army to be able to use my ticket to medical school. I decided to become a pediatrician. Everybody thought that the University of Minnesota had one of the very best pediatric internships in the country. They was trying to diversify their internship programs, and they wanted more women, and they wanted more blacks, and they wanted Southerners. I really felt, being from Arkansas and all of that, I might not, really measure up. But I want you to know, I really worked very hard. My sisters and brothers was picking cotton for me to get money for bus fare. I remember my brother Chester. He was 5 years old at the time. He looked up and he wanted to know, we'd been working all day. He wanted to know, do we have enough yet?
Under Governor Clinton, when she was appointed as the director of the health department, not only was it a surprise, but she created lots of surprises herself.
You know, after about 2 or 3 months, I got the management staff together, and I said, we got to retool, because working with the other directors, this is not going to be the same. I mean, she's got definite ideas. She's, she's going to push the envelope, and we got to be there to pick up the pieces and smooth things over, because, in so many words, it's going to be like a bull in a china shop.
Why I took the job as director of health in Arkansas, to use the job to make a difference for the young black women like me.
There were a lot of things that we're still trying to accomplish today that she was speaking out about. And I think my own assessment is that she just wasn't a good politician. She just spoke her mind.
They completely agreed with her. They just couldn't do it politically. Never mind what the realities of the horrible situation that the teens found themselves in.
Everybody knows the condom lady, right? The teenage pregnancy lady. And for me, her mantra was always, we don't have a healthcare system. We have a sick care system. What do we do about that?
I was out there trying to educate people about preventing teenage pregnancy and human sexuality, the same kind of thing. Well, and people didn't want to talk about sex.
Arkansas had the highest rate of teen pregnancy in the United States.
Back then, most of the legislators were men, and they had never dealt with very many women that were like that, probably. And they'd never dealt with a black woman like that.
I said, it's like when you're young and working in the fields, and with my sisters and brothers, we would work on getting to the end of the row. And when we got to the end of the row, I would decide in the mornings how far we wanted to get moving, how many rows or how far we wanted to get done. I've spent most of my life being able to be around people be around me who was fighting hard to help me achieve my goals.
I wonder if I could just quote you a couple of other quotes and give you the opportunity to say, well, that's not what I said, or it's in a different context, or whatever. Because I did see these as divisive, and I think if we're agreed that consensus building is important and educating is important, we ought to make sure that all of us, people on this side of the dais and as well as that side of the dais, try to avoid those statements that get to motives or are misconstrued or seen as polarizing and divisive. For instance, you're quoted as, again in the Washington Post, as saying pro-lifers are very religious non-Christians.
The reason why I would say very religious non-Christian, right, is, Senator, what they, in Arkansas, I don't know what they do in your state, but what they do is they fight against health education, they fight against welfare, they fight against Medicaid, but they always want to have the children born, but they do not want to support children after they're here. And that was probably where the love affair with the fetus may have come in, because I looked on it as an affair. That's a short-term commitment. Whereas with children, that's forever. That's a very long-term commitment. And in my state, I have not seen them out working for programs to help poor mothers. And if we had a society where everybody was provided health care, a decent place to live, and adequate education, then, Senator, we would be taking care of all people. But in Arkansas, in my state, I don't see these kinds of commitments.
But the point I'm trying to make is that to many people whose faith is very important to them, they view that as a very divisive, radicalizing, polarizing statement, and
Senator, my
those are fighting words.
Yeah, my faith is very important to me, too.
Bill Clinton asked me to be the Surgeon General. I really felt that I had one of the best jobs I'd ever had. And every job I'd ever had, I always really enjoyed. Because I see, when you compare the cotton patch with whatever job I had, it was a super job. So these were all super. Well, when I was asked to be the Surgeon General, this was really not necessarily what I wanted to do.
It was a very heady time because the Clinton administration had gone to Washington and the election had occurred, and we had a president from Arkansas from very humble roots, and Dr. Elders in a leadership position. And as is characteristic of her, she was not quite about the problems there either.
I was about preventing unplanned pregnancies, preventing HIV/AIDS, and preventing STDs, other sexually transmitted diseases, and says that this is the ground that I was going to stand on.
She took a very, very pragmatic view. She was as much for abstinence as anybody, but on a reasoned basis.
She's good for a soundbite, and you can ask her the question, and she's not going to filter the answer, and she's going to say something that she's going to get in trouble. When the press got a hold of it, it cost her.
Bill invited her to be Surgeon General because he said, Joycelyn, I want you to do for the country what you have done for Arkansas. And for what she did as health director in Arkansas was really remarkable. But as even Bill experienced himself walking into Washington from the outside, they were eating them alive. And Joycelyn was one of the sacrificial lambs, I feel. She probably was able to accomplish more out of office than if she had tried to stay and work within that.
If there is a Black woman in Arkansas that has any aspiration to be a doctor or is a doctor, that seed came from Dr. Elders. You ask anybody, She is who we look up to. She is who we aspire to be.
I've had a chance to kind of sit down and think about the past and my future, and I realized the impact that Dr. Elders has had, not only from a clinical perspective. I think she was the first woman of color that was a physician that I actually had interaction with.
I never even thought about it as mentoring. I thought of it as making sure these young people get where they need to go or want to go.
You know, you just see how God is placing people in your life and giving you experiences that 10, 20 years from now is that full circle moment where you realize I am on the right path. And so Dr. Elders being in my life is confirmation that I'm on the right path.
When you think about building a bridge, I think, I had no pattern. I had to have a vision of where I wanted and needed to go and what I had to do to get there. I never accepted failure. I'll do the best I can, fight as hard as I can, and do my best. Whatever that is, always do your best.
Wow. I don't know if I can say very much after that. That was powerful. Thank you, Dr. Elders. Thank you, Dr. Weedn. What a statement. Wow. Earlier today, I was talking with Dr. Elders and Coach Elders, and he made mention to me that it has been 68 years that they've been on this road together. So I'm going to ask Coach Elders to come up because he wants to do something special, and he deserves it.
Good afternoon. This is not going to be a talk. It's going to be a jump shot. Those of you who know anything about a round ball, you know what I mean by a jump shot. It's got to be straight, it's got to be clean, and it's got to be accurate. Let me tell you something about this lady. She's the first lady, but I'm the first man. If you think that all of those hooks and turns and ins and outs and chokes and trying to play it down, if you think that she just said Shazam and it was all right, I'm going to let you keep on thinking that. We had two wonderful sons, brought them up right, gave them everything that parents supposed to give sons, and we still waiting on them to climb up that ladder a little bit more. Those of you who have children, you know what I'm talking about. First time I met her, my ball club needed a physical. Came down that we couldn't play unless they had physicals. And I called the superintendent. He said, call out at the medical school and asked them to send a physician down there. And I told the guys, and we were all down to our G-strings because we had to have it right away. They had to catch the bus, and they had to get it done. There was a mysterious person who appeared up there dressed in navy blue and just paused by the door. And the manager went up there and said, "You got to get out of here because we're having physicals, and you go on out the door and shut it behind you." And she stood straight, looked him in his eyes and said, "You tell that coach of yours that if he want to get these physicals, you better let me come in because I'm the doctor." And when I went and told those guys about that, pandemonium. Can you imagine about 25 youngsters down to their jock straps, and you're telling them that is going to examine me? I mean, all of them bolted for the door. And when the reality hit them, it was one out on the lot when they were getting ready to, I said, "Listen, if you want to play in the ball from here on out, you're going to have this physical." And they ended up coming back in, and so they still wasn't going to have it. And I told them, I said, "Well, since y'all feel like that, I'm going to get one. And I'll get mine first." I went in the office, closed the door, and when I came out, I looked over there at him and I, "Boy, you can't beat it." They lined up and bolted in there. And I told a person who asked me about it, I told him that she gave me a physical then. I told him that she's been giving me a physical ever since. And I'm healthy. I wrote a book. It's called The Fruit of the Spirit. And we give. Reverend Jones told me, he said, "Coach, you need to give the proceeds of that book to this cause." And this is it. This is the fruit of the Spirit. And I'm going to give you a couple of little old ditties out of that before I get through. And I'm going to be through in a minute. Buy one of these, and it goes. You know, whenever you have you ever seen a panther and a lion in a cage together? That's how we are. It ain't no peace. It ain't no sorrow. But it's jam-packed with solution. I haven't seen anything that we couldn't figure out if we wanted to. She's always been supportive of me. I've always been supportive of her. When she went to, got the job from President Clinton, and she told me, she said, "Suge, I'll go if you go with me." I told her, I said, "Pack the bags. We out of here." And it's been like that. Now, if you all think it's easy, forget it. If you think all of them dips and turns and she come back home and lay over there and get a good night's sleep, it ain't like that. You're going to hear all of it once or two or three times over, and she put her hand together like that when she want me to shut up. But I'm gonna tell it anyway. It's been a joy. I just like to give you, this is a book of poems. And I started doing poems for my dad. I used to hear him, and I didn't like it at all, but he would make me sit up there and listen and listen and listen and listen. And after a while, I started making my boys sit up there and listen and listen and listen and listen. First one is called The Human Touch. It's the human touch in this world that counts. It's the touch of your hand and your hand and your hand and your hand and mine that will mean more to a perishing soul than does bread, shelter, or wine. For shelter's gone when the night is over, and bread will last only a day. But the touch of the hand and the sound of the voice will remain in the soul always. Try it out. Figure it out for yourself, ladies and lads. You were born with what all of the greats had. 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 arms, and 2 eyes. And a brain to use if you would be wise. Look them over, the wise and the great. They take their food from a common plate. And with similar lace, they tie their shoes like you and I. They went to school. The world called them the brave and the smart, but you have what they had when they made their start. You can triumph and come to skills. You can be great if you only will, because life has equipped you for the fight that you choose. It gave you arms, legs, and a brain to use. And the man who has risen great deeds to do began his life much like you. You are the handicap that you got to face. You are the one who got to choose your place. You got to decide where you want to go, how much you want to study the truth to know. God has equipped you for life, and so you got to decide where you want to go. Courage comes from the soul within, but man must furnish the will to win. So figure it out for yourself, ladies and lads. You were born with what all of the greats had. With your equipment, they all began. So start for the top and say, by golly, I can.
Thank you, Coach. Before we bring Dr. Elders and Dr. Weedn up for some questions and conversation with you, we have 2 friends of the college who would like to make a presentation to Dr. Elders. I'm going to ask first that from the Office of the Governor that Ms. Kimberly Davis would come forward, please.
Good afternoon. Governor Hutchinson sends his regrets for not being here today, but thank you for being a beacon of light for our Kansans everywhere. I just want to present you with this letter from the governor just to recognize your great works today.
Thank you very much. This is a wonderful plaque, letter from the governor, Governor Asa Hutchinson, and I think it's recognition of what's going on all over the country and the documentary of Philander Smith College. And I want to thank you and thank the governor, and I want you to know it'll be hung in a prominent place, and it'll go in the Joycelyn Elders Library at the Medical Center.
All right. Governor Hutchinson is a good friend of Philander Smith College, and even better friend, if you can have one, is my senator, the senator whose district Philander Smith College sits in. Please welcome the Honorable Senator Linda Pondexter Chesterfield.
Thank you so much, Mr. King. What a joy to be here today. Thank you for your story. I am so excited, and thank you for your poetry. I love poetry. I would ask that Representative Enid and Representative Flowers join me. I'm so proud of these young women because we've got to carry on that legacy of service. And so when I see them, I just smile because they're here. And so President Smothers, Dr. Weedn was kind enough to interview me a long time ago. This has just made me cry and made me laugh. Thank you so much. Whereas Dr. Minnie Joycelyn Elders, Professor Emeriti at the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences, has dedicated her life to serving others and has faithfully utilized her gifts as a physician, professor, leader, and public servant to positively influence lives and indelibly shape the world at the state and national levels. And whereas as the first board-certified pediatric endocrinologist in the state of Arkansas, and as a professor of pediatrics at UAMS, Dr. Elders created an enduring legacy as she helped countless youth and instructed generations of our state's doctors. In 1987, she became head of the Arkansas Department of Health and championed comprehensive sexual health education in schools and childhood immunizations, creating lasting change for adolescents in Arkansas. We seem to be fighting the same battles. And whereas in 1993, Dr. Elders became the first Black person and the second woman to serve as Surgeon General for the United States Public Health Service, and the appointment of then President Bill Clinton as Surgeon General, she advocated for universal health care coverage, promoted comprehensive sexual health education, and brought awareness to teen pregnancy. And whereas the members of the Arkansas Senate wish to join Senator Linda Chesterfield in recognizing Dr. Elders for her impactful contributions to our state and nation, and in wishing her well in all her future endeavors. Now, therefore, pursuant to the motion of Senator Linda Chesterfield, the Arkansas Senate directs this citation be presented on this 16th day of December, 2021. Senator Jimmy Hickey Jr., President Pro Tempore, Ann Cornwell, Secretary of the Senate, and a little girl from the cotton fields of Hope, Arkansas, State Senator. May God bless and keep you, is our prayer. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Senator Chesterfield, Representative Flowers, and Representative Denise Enid. Thank you so much. We're going to take just a few minutes for Dr. Weedn and Dr. Elders to come down front, and if you have questions or comments based on your observation of this dynamic documentary, we're going to give you a few minutes to do that. While we're getting the mic number 2 ready, if there are questions, if you'll let me know, I'll recognize you, and we'll go ahead. Ms. Abrams.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Where do you think the pandemic of COVID-19 and the virus are going to go? Some of us are saying, are we going to live long enough to get out of this pandemic?
Ms. Abrams, you know, I don't know, we don't know where it came from. I don't know that we know that. And of course, we don't know how long it's going to be around and where it's going to go. You know, we know that we could have made a little more progress, or at least we think we could have, than we did. But we didn't. We can't worry about that now. We've got to worry about what do we have to do to survive and get through this. And to me, that's what I feel we've got to do. And if it takes, you know, us getting our immunizations, I think we're all trying to do that, and wearing masks, social distancing, and whatever we have to do, we are at the point that I think we need to do what we need to do in order to survive. To me, the most important thing for us now and for the rest of our lives is to survive, and we need to all do what we have to do. And I feel that we can come through this, but it's going to take us all. It's not a you do it, and I do what I want to do. I think we've all got to do it all to make it. And I do think we're going to make it through this pandemic. You know, we've been blinded, but now this pandemic has opened our eyes, given us 20/20 vision. We've got to use that 20/20 vision to do what we need to do to overcome the difficulties that we've got before us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next question. Yes, Representative. Let me pull you in just a little bit so we can get you on the camera.
A lot of people may not know, but you were responsible for the creation of the Arkansas Minority Health Commission, as well as, which is not common in every state,
Right.
As well as the Minority Health and Health Disparities Division of the Health Department. And you've talked a lot about and demonstrated mentorship for women, mentorship for minority students, and, you know, championed issues that impact everyone. And we've heard what those issues are, from teen pregnancy to universal health care. And my question is, with all that you have done in your lifetime to make such change, and as we stood at the podium, you know, Senator Chesterfield talked about how we're still fighting those same fights. And when I worked in the Center for Diversity Affairs, you know, I couldn't help but cry. I can almost put this up in tears thinking about the mentorship and what you meant. And we're still trying to diversify our healthcare workforce. We're still fighting these same issues. My question is, what can we as policymakers, as citizens, as physicians do at this point when we have so many tools and we have the ground that you've laid, and we're still pushing hard against people who don't want to help the children when they get here?
Well, you know, education is a long, difficult process. And I have to feel that the reason why many of the problems is related to education. We're dealing with ignorance. And you know, to me, you know, you can't keep ignorant people healthy. And so we've got to find a way to keep trying to educate them. We can't give up. We can't say it won't work. We can't say there's nothing else to do. I think we've got to start early. We've got to educate our parents. And I'm very pleased that they're talking about early childhood education and things that we can do to make a difference. And I think we've all got to push for those things, because we know that children, you know, they're half as tall as they'll ever be by the time they're 3. They know half as much as they'll ever know by the time they're 4. Hope, will, and drive has been determined by the time they're 5. And so it's very critical that we start early and do all we can to make a difference. And not just some of us, all of us. And we've got to educate and make a difference in our whole communities, in all the communities, all across the world.
Good. Dr. Smith?
First, let me say how amazing this been and your life is. We go back a long way, and it's great to see you. I was one of the youngest principals in the state at the time, and I had a health clinic. It was a middle school, and I had a number of pregnant girls. And New Futures decided that my site would have a health clinic. And we passed out things to help young people feel safe. But there were parents who complained and ate me alive about the health clinic. But your passion and determination, and to see a child pregnant at 12 and 13 years old, something had to be done. And you did that thing. And I want you to talk a little bit more about the courage that it took to stand up. Because at that time I was very, very young. I only taught about 3 years, and then became a principal of a middle school. And you made a tremendous difference in my life and the life of those children. And I just wanted you to tell this audience about speaking truth to power and courage. Please say a little bit about that.
You know, I'm not sure that I can answer your question. I think I felt very, the compassion I think I felt for those young people was what it was really about for me. And I didn't worry about the consequences of what the problems it would befall me. I didn't worry about what the politicians were thinking. I didn't worry about, I felt that when parents were fighting against me, I felt that there was fighting out of ignorance. You know, I was really, you know, before I put anything out there, I talked about, I was trying to make sure that it was, I had viewed it, reviewed it, and that it was considered a fact. And I felt that if it wasn't a fact, I wouldn't mind going around afterwards and saying, well, that wasn't true. But, you know, I really wanted to make sure that we put factual information, and I wanted parents to have factual information. And I tell everybody, I thought about the night that I'll never forget the night that I was asked to be on the condom board. You know, everybody was talking about you know, all the bad things about condoms, but the person who is actually he's over a huge company, but condoms was a part of that company. And it was a rainy night in New York. And he called, wanted to know if he could have dinner with me. So I said, well, yes. So we had dinner, and he says, doctor, he said, that was, you know, when I was getting all the trouble about being the condom queen. and I said, and I told him, I said, he said, you are saying you're the condom queen. He said, I want you to know, if you will be the condom queen, I want to be the condom king. And I'll provide all the education, the money, the condoms, or whatever that you want for free. My company makes them. He said, and you form this board. So I want you to know, I was the president of the Trojan board for for 21 years. At any school, college, in fact, Trojan came, we got here on this campus, the nurses, the presidents, and before you, they came and was handing out condoms, gave the nurses all the condoms that they wanted for free, and they could, any size, kind. Well, we would far prefer them use a condom than to be pregnant. We didn't want them dropping out of school. We wanted them, and so anytime we wanted, if they needed another box, and when we talk about boxes, we're talking about thousands. And that's right. And well, they were one when they had to live off campus and they needed condoms, and they were part of them were living in a motel, one of them, and they couldn't have condoms. So I wanted to make sure that was not an excuse.
All right. Next question.
And so, and one last thing, you know, I was talking to a lot of the young children, and there is a minister here in town, and she dressed their children for a special day. They could dress up as whoever they wanted to be, but she wanted to be Dr. Elders. So she made her a Surgeon General's uniform. This is the mother. And she was all dressed up and so when it was time to go, the grandmother said it was pouring down rain, and so her daughter, who was 7 or 8 years old, said she had a purse on, and she said, and so she says, oh, Granddaddy, I need a condom. An 8-year-old. So she said their mouths, teeth almost fell out. So they stood there and looked at her and said, she says, well, I'm to be Dr. Elders tomorrow. And she says, you don't ever go out with anybody you like without a condom in your purse. She said, my husband looked at her and did not. And he says, honey, give me the key. He got the keys, went out in the rain, and bought her condoms to go in her purse.
Dr. Stevenson?
Any thoughts about when you'll get to the 78 minutes?
Well, you know, I said earlier, many hands, and people came out of the woodwork that I did not know, and another one has come out of the woodwork that I do not know, but I do now. I received a call from Deborah Santana, Carlos Santana's former wife, and she said, I saw this. I saw you're doing this. I love Dr. Elders. We have to make the full thing, and I'm going to help you. She said, you know, I've made documentaries. I have my own foundation. I never write checks for less than $20,000. When this is all over and Christmas is done, you call me up and we're going to get together. So, and then also, you know, many of the foundations that fund these things, they have to find you. You don't apply to them. I mean, I think Oprah Winfrey should see this, right? I think the Obamas should see this. They have their own foundation, but I don't really know how to make those connections. I mean, if any of you do, call me up. I'll call them. But you know, you saw Colonel Pritzker in the movie, and she adores Dr. Elders, and their foundation has invited me to apply. Now, this is not an easy thing because this is way out of my expertise. I don't know how to make a budget for a full documentary. And the questions that the Tawani Foundation has sent to me, I mean, mostly I don't know the answer to, but I am trusting that people like Deborah Santana are going to come forward. She's already sent me the way a budget looks. What's a line? Because I don't know. She sent me, I'm going to send you the budget for my last documentary so you can at least see what the line items are. So, you know, if you all want to help in this effort and you have some expertise in these areas, call me up because I'm going to be doing this after Christmas. I've taken a week off from work, you know, from the 26th until the 3rd of January to write. I've promised the Tawani Foundation that I will write that. And the Partnership for Change in San Francisco, which is a nonprofit foundation, and the Seed Work Foundation, Reverend Susan Sims Smith's foundation here in Little Rock, have both agreed to sponsor, which means we can receive funding that goes, you know, nonprofit to nonprofit, to be held by them for the time that will come when we can do this larger thing. Now, I think it takes a lot of money to do these things, you know? That's my understanding. I have no idea how much money. You heard my story. I did that for $10,000 because people came out and said, we're going to make this thing happen. And So I don't know how long. I hope not long. I hope not long. I had occasion to talk to Dean Deb McPhee, who's the Dean of Social Studies at Fordham University, and she said, this is fabulous. You should do 4 more of other women, like Linda Chesterfield, for example, and put it together as, you know, or the whole thing. I mean, I don't know. We're going to see what happens. And I would like to see it be the full thing about Dr. Elders. And maybe she plays herself. Or maybe we have some fabulous movie star play her. You know, if you noticed in the film, in back of Dr. Elders is a table with a lamp, some flowers, and a candle. And there's a little photograph that's fuzzy. I was going to tell this to you, Dr. Smothers. You can't really see who's in it, but that photograph is in my bedroom, and it's on Dr. Elders' nightstand. I had the great honor to introduce Dr. Elders to the astronaut Colonel Yvonne Cagle, MD, and they were able to sit together at lunch in California and visit, and that is them in that photograph. So, you know, Yvonne also would like to see this happen. There's so many others that have said, come on, we have to get this to happen. And so I'm doing it by hook and by crook. I had an occasion to meet. My husband was with me at a birthday dinner for a man named Bill Gibson, the drummer for Huey Lewis and the News. And his niece is on the security detail for the Obamas. I said, Melissa, will you take this film to Michelle Obama, because you said sometimes she comes and has pizza with the detail. I don't know if she did or she didn't. I guess we'll find out. That's all I can tell you, but I'm very hopeful. I think it's going to happen. And when Yvonne said, you got to make this happen, Sonnee, I said, listen, if there's going to be a movie star that plays me, I definitely want it to be what's her name? Scarlett Johansson. You know. So we'll see. It's going to be a journey, and I think it's going to happen.
We'll take one additional question, and then we're going to have our closing remarks, and then we're going to go out for some refreshments. For those of you who don't want to ask a public question, you'll have a chance then. Mr. Nash.
Thank you. Dr. Elders, my name is Bob Nash.
If I don't know.
Say to you, how important you have been to the most important thing in my life, my daughter. From the time she was in high school and worked in your office over at the Med Center, and all the letters of recommendation you wrote for her to go to medical school and George Washington University, Harvard University, and come back to Arkansas and serve. I am so thankful to you for that. And there are many, many more like her. And I'll paraphrase the words of the great African king who said, your work indeed for some who are dead, a few who are living, and many more yet unborn will be touched by your life and service. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I'm going to ask my staff. As you know, the Joycelyn Elders School is a dream come true for Philander Smith College, and it's going to really be a treasure for the state of Arkansas as well as the country, answering the question of the shortage of healthcare professionals around the country. Here in Arkansas alone, every day, we are 700 to 1,000 people short every day. Philander Smith College is prepared to be the answer to that shortage. But to get there, we need you. We need your help. Members of my staff have envelopes, and I want to tell you that no gift is too small. And I think they told me they were going to put something up behind me for those technical savvy people, a QR code. Okay. Oh, she's going to come up and do it. So if you just want to point your phone and give, you can do that. Or if you want to make a pledge, you can do also with this folder. And as we are doing that, I want to say just a couple of things. Dr. Elders, I know that you and Colonel Prisker go a long ways back. We've had the honor and the pleasure of not directly from Colonel Pritzker, but from her foundation. They have already committed $1 million to your. And I know that you'll talk to her some more, right? Yes, ma'am.
She didn't tell me that.
And while you are looking at the QR code or filling out your envelope for a pledge, because we wish that everybody could give $1 million, but we know that that's not going to happen, but every gift is certainly appreciated as much as $1 million. So please do so. In addition to the Tawani Foundation, which is Colonel Pritzker's foundation, the college has had the opportunity to partner with the state of Arkansas, with the diligent help of my colleagues in the room like Dr. Clowney Johnson, Dr. Stevenson, and others, through the Arkansas Health Department. We are in a partnership for $1.4 million to the Joycelyn Elder School to help build it out. And we even have people in the room today who love you, Dr. Elders. And I'm going to ask Mary and her husband to come up, and they will make an announcement as well.
Tell my friends I've known him forever.
We have known you forever. And Jim, with his background in public health, this was right up our alley. We do not have Judith Pritzker's money available. That said, the Rebsamen Fund and Jim and I personally have endowed scholarships to your school.
Oh.
We are so appreciative. We are so appreciative of the Rebsamen Fund, your personal family, so much that you do throughout the community, especially what you're going to be doing with the Elder School. We sincerely appreciate it. Again, I want to ask everyone to take your envelope from my staff after you've completed them on your way out. They'll be more than happy to receive those or get your information if you'd like to make a pledge, if you have a corporate or foundation that you would like to direct us to help fund this school. You would be most appreciated. With that being said, I am going to, Lakshmanas, did you have any closing remarks? Okay. With that being said, I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank Dr. Elders for all that you do for Philander Smith College. Dr. Weedn, the last year or so of you coming on our campus has been an absolute pleasure, and we know we will continue to see you more as we build out this school for Dr. Elders. Thank all of you. Patty, the luncheon was excellent. Thank you so much for that event earlier today. Thank all of you for coming out. Coach, I can't say enough. Thank you so much. Reverend Jones. I'm calling names, I'm going to get in trouble, but Reverend Jones has been an advocate for his sister like no other brother-sister team I've ever seen. Thank you. Thank you so much. And with that being said, Senator Chesterfield, I'm going to make you my last one. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, I was grateful to Senator Chesterfield for all she's done and what she's done in the community and to try and make a difference for
We've got
students who need help.
We have a wonderful spread reception out in the atrium. We would love for you to get to know each other. Since we're all fans of Dr. Elders, you can share stories with her and with each other. Please join us out in the atrium. Thank you.